Oh my god, we have reached an end. I think so, at least. I believe we've encountered the finale, the final episode of the Infinite Endless Eight. I think we're here. So what does that bring for us? Well, it brings some thoughts on the Endless Eight as a whole, which we'll get into after the episode reaction itself. It brings some intrigue as to how they're going to alter and stray from the path that they have laid out endlessly within the first 7 episodes here. And some curiosity on the structure of that. Do we remain identical and alter directly at the end? Allow Kyon to finally be like, I can reach out a hand and alter and change things? And then actually does, and then we get like a quick couple minutes of what goes down with that and how that breaks the loop? Or does something happen a little bit earlier? Right? And those are going to be the things that we're watching out for. We're going to notice key differences immediately. He's going to start doing things that feel slightly different, and they're going to throw things for a little bit more of a loop. I don't know. We will have to wait, and we will have to see. This has been a long time coming, and we have finally made it to the end. I hope you're as excited for it as I am. If you like it all, to like and subscribe. They do mean a lot to me. Feel free to stick around for the discussion. Leave any comments for this episode or this series. Let's go on with the finale of the Endless Eighth, the 8th part, as well as episode 19 of Haruhi. It's the day this time. And there's actually something on the TV. Ooh. This is the last time we're going to get her to tell us the phone's ringing. Never really even thought about it too, how he's holding the phone every time. She always tells him as if it isn't the most obvious thing already. Weird sense of deja vu. Where did that come from? We race our way over there. He really set his bike up to just have to go back and get it. Good points, Haruhi. Would have hit so much harder if I hadn't heard it 8 other times. But I get you. It's approaching it with more confidence. It's her way of normal. We have a stronger positive vibe so far throughout this one. It's more energy and it's a little bit more vibrant. Wait, and this one too. Even the background track of this not feeling as chaotic and panicked almost. Hey, you be doing more of those 2 weeks than most people do in a whole summer, so. I like like how open she is about adding things and how like excited she gets. She's like, all right, let's do it. Just because there's a suggestion. Nah. You get anything extra out of our Yuki conversation. But you stop her before. Yeah, it just suddenly happened to do so. Is he wearing a jersey over his shirt? We skipped the shopping segment too. And nobody has a reaction to it. Literally almost killing him. This segment was cut a bit. The whole festival. This is our last chance for someone else to win and be a leader. Please. Please. Ah! Yes, we really sum up. Everyone released in a mall. The freedom. Well, that's stuck on the web. Just like you, bro. But look how big and cool it is. Yeah, memories. Who cares about money? That's a cranky old man. Her progressively getting harder and harder to understand as the episodes continue will never not be funny. So if I had to make a guess, this is the conversation I think that we would trim the most from, but I guess we'll see. Maybe not, though. Literally can't make out a thing you say. Right. Make it all perfect sense. No, brother. It's always her. Yeah, I wonder why that would be.
おそらく夏休みにやり残したことがあると感じているのではないでしょうか。繰り返してきた時間すべての記憶を持った者が確実に一人いるのではないかと僕は考えています。
誰だその一人ってのは。
One sitting to your right.
そうなのか。
そう。
全部覚えてい
Yes,
るのか。
it is I.
ちなみにその繰り返しとやらは
Too
今
many.
何回目だ。
今回が15,532回目に該当する。
15,532回。
アルバイトを行ったのは9,056回であるが、その内容は6つに分岐する。
I like the lighting all throughout this sequence.
荷物運び、レジ打ち、ビラ配り、電話番。
いや、もういい。しっかり記憶を持ったまま何度も何度もやり直してきたってのか。中戸、お前は一体今までどんな気持ちで過ごしてきたんだ。
Try and remember that at the end of the episode. Try and keep that in mind. Instead of just accepting it.
場所は長門の町。
Let's see if we finally get him around to the idea.
望遠鏡を覗いて
She's already passed out before we start. Yeah, so we trimmed a little of the explanation in the previous section, and even here we're doing it again. So we're clearly creating room for later in the episode.
試しにこういうのはどうです？鈴宮さんを背後から取っていた耳元で
Come on.
ラビューをささやくんです。
At least consider it.
あなた
You
以外
buddy.
敵役がいますかね？
俺のターン。拒否権を発動。
ああ。
僕がやってみましょうか。
怒涛の夏休みイベント消化体制はまだ続く。本物の花火大会にも行った。ハゼ釣り大会にも参加した。他にも着物。
So not even montaging these, Skip talking to Yuki about why she didn't express any of this to us.
そうこうしてるうちにやってきた8月30日。
これで課題は一通り終わったわね。
Beautiful. Let's see what you pull out for us, buddy.
ね、他に何かしたいことある？
Everyone knows it's about to happen again.
この夏はいっぱいいろんなことができたからもう十分よね。
いや、よくない。
No, she is not.
満足していないはずだ。
Come on, brother.
今日はこれで終了。明日は予備日に開けておいたけど、そのまま休みにしちゃっていいわ。また明後日部室で会いましょう。
待て、ハルヒ。
You got a bill to pay, bro.
また来た。それも今までにない強烈な。
Yeah, you're literally coming out of your body.
繰り返してきた証拠だ。このままハルヒを返しちゃダメだ。でないと。
Run up from behind and hug her and tell her you love her. This is the chance. Do the thing.
思い出すんだ。俺にとって気がかりであり、
That's cool. Transition to that. Cool.
それじゃダメだ。それじゃ変化しないんだ。
We have to prolong the summer.
何をしてきたんだ。何をしてこなかったんだ。
This is super cool how all the things that we're doing are being reflected into the sequence.
一番。
Just open your mouth.
俺の課題はまだ終わってねえ。
Thank you. Finally. Holy shit. We took you 8 episodes to realize it. Thank you. This is what I said the first episode. Have him help out. Have him come over. Do something. There we go. Spend the day together. It's set aside for a reason. Let's go. Look at that smile. He knows we're doing it. The confidence in the voice. Who said I would do this? You said you're not doing anything tomorrow. You asked us if... Yeah. Why she gotta act like that? You were always allowed to come. You gotta clean, dude. People are coming over. Oh, I guess that means we already did it. Okay.
ですから彼女は夏休みの宿題が負担だとは全く思わなかったのですよ。ましてや友人と共に分担作業をすることなどおそらくなかったことでしょう。
始業式の日くらい帰ってもよかったんだろうが、なんとなく俺はここに来て同じく登場した小泉とここでこうしている。
You were so thankful that they actually came. You had to get up and do something.
顔には表さなかったが、あいつもやっぱり疲れていたのかもしれない。
Yeah, absolutely.
過去15,531回のシークエンスにいた僕たちと今の僕たちは記憶を共有していません。
Only one of you.
1532回目の僕たちだけが正しい時間流に再び戻ることができたわけですから。ポーカーでもしますか？
ああ、いいとも。金ならないぞ。
Might as well.
今の俺があるのは先に2週間を過ごしていたその俺たちのおかげだろう。
Sure.
そうでも思ってやらなければ、ある日になかったことにされてる彼らの夏がまるで無駄だったと言わんばかりじゃないか。もう一度今日やり直す機会があったなら掛け金の設定をぜひとも覚えておこう。
The ones you want to redo. The loop has been broken. The cycle itself has been broken. We find ourselves being a victor with our winning hand at the end of the episode. And finally have broken free all the symbolism and all the things that we've gotten continuously of things soaring throughout the sky. The freedom, the ability to spread wings and fly has finally come to life. And we're able to move on past the saga that is the Endless Eight. This episode, as all the others, plays out almost identical with a slight alteration and change to the end. That comes in us actually being able to make a suggestion, hang out together, and finally give the fulfillment that we're looking for. Utilize that last day that was purposefully set aside from Haruhi. And we're able to be good and move forward with that. I'm going to go through the episode first. And I'm going to just talk about the things that I observed and noticed were different. That was one of the things I was interested in doing throughout this, as I think I talked about it throughout the reaction a bit. But also at the end of the last episode, I made note of I think it would be really cool just to kind of watch this one and kind of make notes of where they're cutting corners so that they can fit in probably an extra sequence or two that they need to at the end. And they do exactly that. So I want to just go through this and talk about it. And then as soon as we do that, I'll give my overall thoughts on, the choice of how we concluded this. The Endless Eight is an arc itself entirely, expectations a little bit, maybe moving forward, and whatever else comes to mind along the way. So let's start off with the episode. So the episode, more of the same, like I said. Things are a little different. The overall coloring feels a little bit more vibrant throughout. The music feels a little bit more hopeful at moments, and at other points when it doesn't necessarily feel that way, it doesn't feel as like chaotic and piercing almost onto the mind of what's going on within the world of like Kyon or the other characters that we're kind of observing, where some of the other points we're getting like, oh shit, like especially the moments of like deja vu that are kicking in some of the past episodes we get. There's specific audio tracks that play in the background that really feel like they're representing his state of mind almost at that point, whereas they feel a little different throughout this until we get to the end sequence of the last time it happens. This almost plays out exactly as we're fully expecting it to. We get an OP, and then we get a little prolonged sequence where he goes and puts his bike aside before running over and talking to them, which is a little different than what we're typically used to. And we hang out at the pool. Everything feels pretty much the same and normal almost throughout this. Pretty upbeat and positive for the most part. I like when they go into these states how they just kind of change the coloring a little bit too. Like putting a direct filter over it to indicate the flashback or the feelings of like, shit, something like this has happened before. Let's make some plans. We set things up and all right. We make our call out to Yuki as opposed to just waiting and like chasing after her, having her go a different direction to give a reason for her to be separated. But we still really don't come up with anything different in this point. We go to the festival. We skip directly over what we've gotten before, which is meeting up together before they end up deciding to go and do the shopping for the outfits. And same thing, actually being able to see them do that and come out and show them off. skip directly over that. A few others, we don't really get any focus placed on them actually playing and doing the goldfish scooping. We immediately transition to, oh, you're interested in this, instead of taking note of where she is, walking over to her and having that conversation that we are. Skip directly over Haruhi making a comment on it. There's no mention of the takoyaki and like sharing one and only allowing Kyon or somebody to have one with it. Fireworks sequence is a little bit shorter, but not really. They kind of utilize dialogue directly over a lot of it that I think speeds it up. And instead, we just go directly into talking about how we hadn't done any of the schoolwork throughout the summer. We let everything go free. We have one return to him, similar to how Haruhi mentions, but also one that's getting like kind of stuck behind in a way. And it feels like him, and it feels like all of them really getting stuck in this big old loop that we're in, which the net indicating the circle too, of him not being able to fly free like everyone else and being held back by something. He's able to find his answer to the end though. So it's nice. We actually get to see a little bit of them handing this all out, which usually we just montage through and don't actually go into. But then we immediately skip them, taking this off and then wondering about the payment and watching Haruhi's entrance and everything, and just go right directly to that conversation happening. This sequence is a little bit shorter. I really love the lighting all the way throughout it. I think it's awesome, and it makes it feel very distinct from the rest of the episode itself. But this conversation doesn't really change at all. It all feels basically the same, just maybe a little shortened at points. Next day we go stargazing. We skip over the whole Martian talk and Haruhi observing, and instead we just directly go into their sleeping. Let's have our conversation with Koizumi about what we should do here. This sequence just feels kind of almost useless in the greater picture of things because it just skips out, and even like a little unnecessary to be within this episode itself, but I guess is a callback to one of the primary things that we've focused on all the way throughout. Must happen. We skip the talk with Yuki about her own feelings and about why she didn't tell us. We get to see them waiting at the bus stop and it raining, which is a little different than what we typically get to. He narrates over all the things that we want, as opposed to flashing through, or not want the things that we did, as opposed to just flashing directly through them. And we find ourselves in the same situation that we typically do. All the characters seemingly have like something on their face where they're like, fuck, like knowing that this is the end too. And it hits even stronger and harder than ever. And he's finally able to extend that hand. He's finally able to say that final thing that we've been waiting on this whole time, that we've been anticipating, that I have predicted and said was exactly what we needed to do from the first time that we said this happened in the Endless Eight all the way through now. And we get a lot of these other sequences which are reminiscent, her jumping in the pool, the water, the stars of them observing it, the takoyaki and actually sharing it one with him, the bug that gets left, right? Like a bunch of these things that have either happened, cut from this episode, but just are reminiscent of everything that we've gone through and all the cycles that we've continued on. I think it's a real pretty display for us to get to see. And finally, he's like, fuck it, we got to do it. And he takes that extra step and he's like, I got to do this. We got to do the homework. She gets all mad. She gets all mad because the leader didn't say that. You ain't run it by her first. You're just making these plans. What the fuck? Especially because she gave you the option to do so, and she just stayed quiet until she was about to leave. I'm blowing up the spot. And we skip through it, which is fine, of them not actually like fully showing this, because we get a little glimpse of it in a couple seconds after this. But this did confuse me at first. I thought it was just his room was a mess in general, but it's because they ended up all hanging out and he ended up not cleaning it up at all. Nice little mention about how all the journeys and the things that they went on before realistically aren't them. The them that are here today don't share any memories or remembrance of those things actually occurring. So at this timeline, it's like almost a reminder of we needed to make sure that we didn't change things or continued to make the most of it, even if we kind of started realizing a little bit of what's going on. And it's nice that we did extend our hand at the end and actually allow that to happen, just because these are memories that we're forever going to be able to share. And it's a nice little callback, I think, to like all of the other versions of himself who continue to do it. And then even at the ends, like my issue that I've continuously had of him being like, the next me's got this, as opposed to like trying to solve and figure it out. It still almost references that a bit to me, or at least I believe so, in the sense that it's like, this is all the memories that he was able to make up to this point, and then he like almost allowed a new version of himself to continue to do that and make that decision if he wants to extend on it, while the past version himself didn't. I think it's kind of lame, that mindset, but at the same time, it would make plenty of sense. And thanks to the us that did all of that, the version of you that is here today can kind of go through it, which is the overall message that they're really trying to get through. And I like how like this is the first real reference he has to like actually wanting to redo something and change it up. It's just so you can place a bet on the game instead, which is really funny to me. And there they choose to end the arc itself, allowing us, the viewers, as well as the characters within it, to finally break through the endless cycle that they've continuously found themselves in, no longer having to relive those days, allowing you to cherish kind of those moments that you've lived through so much more, and allowing you to realize that sometimes shit don't be changing unless you actually reach out and make that effort to actively do so, which we continuously see the stagnation within all of our characters, especially the one that we follow with Kyon, not actually reaching his hand out, not making an effort to change things or showcase us any sort of iteration of this being largely different. And instead, when it finally decides to take that chance and decides, I don't want to do this anymore for the sake of Yuki having to relive this, for the sake of everybody else, and hopefully for the sake of us, was like, I gotta do something about it, and decides to reach out that hand and finally inflict some change into his life, into the cycle that they found themselves in, which is a cool little way for them to end that. Now, the arc as a whole is interesting. I don't know. I've thought about it a bit, and I've had 8 weeks to do so, but I've never really, I think, thought about it on a full level, because in my mind, it was always, we need to come to a conclusion before I would have the general thoughts of how I was feeling towards it. And I think I don't have a proper way to structure it, but I'll lay out just some like ideas and thoughts I have now that I have a full picture of everything that has occurred. I think, for one, I think the general progression we get from an episode to episode basis is cool. I think the idea of kind of not really knowing anything and just going from like, this is normal, to wait, what's going on, to holy shit, this is starting to feel really weird, to I'm getting really mad and frustrated now that things aren't working, indicated through like the direct audio cues that we're getting with the choice of music or the visuals, and the language that they try to display all of that through, all the way through to the end when he starts inspiring a little bit more hope and recognizing and latching on a bit more to what exactly is occurring. And then to the end when he's finally able to have his breakthrough. It's like a fun little cycle that we go through, evolution almost. And I think that's pretty cool for us to get to see on an episode to episode basis. And it allows, this works as a positive and a negative in some way, but it allows for the viewer themselves to be trapped within what's actually happening, and for us to not narratively rely fully on what is going down within like what they're trying to tell, and instead kind of force you into that same sort of experience, which I think is a unique take on this that I haven't really felt like I've lived out, which is interesting because of that. But at the same time, is unwelcomed in a way, because after a few, you kind of get the point. And I don't think it was necessary to do 8 to make me feel the sort of emotions that I did. I do think that it was almost intentional to allow all of these to take place so that when you do reach that end conclusion, it's like, oh, thank God, and like a finally, and like a huge sigh of relief, and you feel great about it. But at the same time, I think potentially having knowledge that it was going to be, this episode that it ends, it hits a little less. But also just, I think they didn't need that many. I think I even made note, I think it was on the 6th episode, everything felt boring in that one. And that's still my least favorite of all of them. And I think by the time we got to that, they didn't do anything unique or different enough that made me be like, yeah, I'm happy I'm watching this. Like at that point, I was like, I would rather this just be over completely now. Truthfully, I would have rathered it be over, like, us do the first episode, us loop and be like, what the hell's going on? Maybe a second episode to really make you feel like, fuck, we're trapped and not making any progress, and then break free on probably the 4th or 5th episode, as opposed to us doing 8. I think that would have been my preferable way of doing it. But especially by the 6th, I was like, this just does not need to keep going the way that it is. Things were changing like less and less. No new real things were being introduced. And they weren't doing anything kind of unique or intriguing, in my opinion, animation wise, direction wise. It just, everything started feeling a little bit too samey by that point. So it just, I don't know. I think at a certain point, I almost didn't welcome us getting all the way to this endpoint and actually feeling like, yeah, I'm happy we earned this, and I feel rewarded almost that we're breaking free. Like I feel like we found a victory at the end of the day, and I feel happy that we were able to relive through all these moments. Like I don't. I'll be honest, I don't. Like I think at a certain point it needed to come to a close. So I think like potentially if that's what we're going for, it works against what they were trying on. Because I don't think it impacts me on the way that maybe was intentional. And maybe it wasn't. Maybe they just wanted us to suffer fully through and didn't want that victory to feel like it was more earned come to the end. But, well, I don't know. I guess I'll never really know what the true motivations and intentions realistically were behind it. And I think my other, like, real big issue with it, I have two other main issues, I guess, in regards to the arc. But I think my other big one is, and it's one that works in two ways once again, where it's like the positives from it is the consistent changes throughout the episodes. It was really fun to watch and notice that we're using different music at moments, that we're cutting out certain scenes or adding new ones, or we're showcasing things slightly different, or that we're doing something interesting directionally, or the coloring in one of the sequences is like largely different from everything that we get. Maybe the characters just act out or have a facial expression or something that's just slightly different, the different outfits and everything that they wear. There's a lot of cool things that we get throughout it, things that I think are welcomed and things that I feel like you almost feel you get rewarded for when you get to the end, but once again works against it because you don't get rewarded for it. All the little things that we cut out at moments, we skip over in some episodes, they're there in others. They don't reward you at the end. And unless I'm entirely missing something, there's no little like, oh, we skip that so something else is going to happen. There's no little like, we skip that so they don't have a memory of this thing actually occurring. It just, instead, we just skip it. And we just don't get it. And it just feels like we're adding things and we're changing things to keep the viewers on their toes and be like things are like slightly different. And once again, like you're living within the thing that's actually happening and you're trapped as well. So you're just, of course, going to be a little bit more observant and notice these things. But there's no real reward for noticing those things come to the end because you play out the day the exact same until you get to the last moment. So it just feels underwhelming in that sense, which brings me to my main like final sort of point, which is this was obvious from the beginning. This, in the first episode, in my discussion, I said the exact same thing. I said, we're going to get to the end. I said, and the only thing I bet that he's going to need to change is he's just going to need to reach out his hand and actually say something to her. She purposely set aside a point in time. He kept saying there's got to be a hint. That was literally the hint, I think, the whole way, in my opinion, was you set aside something, a full day. You got nothing to do. You still have to do your homework. Oh shit, here's a fucking idea for us to have. And he didn't even have to do the homework. I don't even think that was necessary. It provided Haruhi an experience that she hadn't had before. So of course she did her homework beforehand and she wasn't ever going to consider we can do this together in like a study group sort of thing, or like a friend sort of sense. It was different, of course, for her. So it provided like a new sort of experience that allowed her to finally let us back into the normal timeline and break through. But at the same time, it's just like, we could have seen that from the beginning. And I wasn't certain if we were going that route, we were going to do the homework, or we were just going to be like, let's do something entirely different on this last day. But it was very obvious that we needed to extend a hand, and all the other characters throughout this had multiple points where they participated in a sort of way, which that sort of went against, I think, where I thought they were going to lean into that a little bit more. We continuously had Yuki like, I want to get a mask and I want to like be the one who buys it and does all of this. We had the I want to ask for like the goldfish and do all of this with Asahino. And then at the first few episodes with the telescope, we had continuous mention that Koizumi was the one who brought that to us, that he was the one who provided that, and that he's the one that, you know, so it felt like everybody's participating in a way where it almost felt like Kyon wasn't doing anything. So I thought we were going to lean into that a little bit, where he finally opened his mouth and made a suggestion for something for us to do. But we don't, because in this episode, we cut out completely any mention of Koizumi being related or a part of it. To be fair, actually, he did find the stage of like where we're going for the festival. So maybe we're going to lean into that a little bit if he's participating in that way. I guess we could do that. And I was just focusing a little too much on the other sequence. So I guess we could still say that that was the case. But once again, it was obvious from that point, and especially as they continuously told us in the first few, you didn't do anything, and Kyon needs to participate and do something. So of course we're waiting on him to reach out and actively be the person who did so and be the one who changes the fate in the future that awaits him. So it's nice that we were finally able to get that, but it does overall just come as like a, yeah, this felt obvious. And I don't know if I needed to relive 8 episodes to get the big picture of where we're trying to go. I think that could have been accomplished in a few episodes if they intentionally wanted us to suffer and try and live through it. I don't know my feelings on it as a whole. There's some unique and really cool ideas that are potentially presented in here that aren't followed all the way through with what the overall narrative that we're trying to tell is. And then at the ends, we get a sequence that basically is what was expected from the start. And maybe I'm different and somehow, which never happens in any show ever, so that's why I find this hard to believe, I was correct with my initial prediction on something, potentially. And I'm the only one who potentially saw that, right? And they thought it was more of like a something that was going to be hidden and you had to uncover as the episodes were kind of playing out. But from the beginning, it felt beyond obvious that this is what we were anticipating to occur, and it actually happens in the exact way. So I don't love it, right? I think it has cool ideas. I think that the message and the feeling you get at the end is kind of cool, but at the same time, it's lacking in a lot of other areas. And do I wish that I didn't have to go through it? Sort of. I wish we didn't have to go through 8 episodes, and I wish it was kind of almost cut in half, but we could still keep a lot of the same meaning and things that I think I'm going to take from it. Does it make it more memorable? And is it going to be something that I'm always going to remember, that I had to suffer through 8 episodes of us doing the exact same thing every single time with nothing realistically changing and being incredibly obvious from the beginning of what exactly was going to happen in the final episode once we finally got through it in order to break fully through? Yeah. So I guess they achieved that if that's what they wanted to go for and make this memorable. So I don't really know. I got nothing else. I don't think anything else realistically comes to mind. I'm happy we're through it. I think this places a lot on Haruhi finding new experiences for things, which is essentially what we've been going throughout this entire show with, and also opening Kyon up a little bit more to, the friends and actually appreciating memories and things that he can create with them, as stupid and as annoying as some of them actually can be to experience and go through. And it places a lot of highlight too on Yuki for being the big brain throughout all of this and having to carry the heavy burden of living out 600 years of her fucking life, just participating and doing this same exact thing without ever speaking up or altering or changing anything that she does. So big old props onto her. My favorite gag throughout the whole thing was, the sister telling us the phone's ringing at the beginning, and Asahina like crying and getting progressively harder and harder to understand after every single episode, and then tying classified information into every single line that she was trying to tell when she's explaining it, to the point that we no longer could really even understand the word she was saying at the end. I thought those were pretty good. And I just also really like, which I talk about a lot, I love when we change up outfits on characters. I think some shows are boring. A lot of times it's like battle action shonens that go into that, where because all the characters have like a uniform or something that they're consistently wearing. I like when we do shows like this where we can just consistently wear other things, and every character has different styles. We can continuously show that off. And the episode works in a few different ways, where we get to see them wear like yukatas, and then we get to see them wear different bathing suits and everything each episode. So it's like they tie in a beach episode and a festival episode, and they put it all directly into the episode where they all get jobs, and the one where they all do like all these different activities. I think it was fun because of that. So yeah, some memorable moments on it. Some things, of course, I'm going to remember, especially the suffer that you had to go through. But do I think that it should have been probably different? A little bit, absolutely. But that leaves us where we're at. We're going to move forward. We're going to venture into more. I kind of hope we get another episode or two of just one-offs as opposed to going directly into another arc, even though I don't think any of the other arcs are long. I think they're all going to be like 2 or 3 episodes at most for the remainder of this. I could be wrong, but I think so. But we'll just have to let it play out and see. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for joining me through the suffering that was the Endless 8. We did 1 episode at a time, and honestly, we did 1 episode a week the entire way through, except for the time where I took like a month and a half off, and then we came back, did 1 a week. So I experienced it in the way that it aired. In a way. So I think that was interesting, which also, to be fair, I think made it a little bit easier to consume. I think if I did back to back to back to back, I would have gone fucking insane. So I do think the fact that I did one episode a week as opposed to doing it that way made this a lot simpler for me and a lot less like stressful almost on the mind and annoying, like, and made me feel like I want to drop it and not watch the episode of the series or anything. But I completely do understand why people are like, yeah, you could probably just skip all these episodes. I'm going to always experience shows in ways that I feel that they're kind of intended. This series is a little different in terms of like broadcast order and chronological and like a bunch of the other things that they go into, which is why it was a hard decision to already decide to watch it and then make that decision of where you want to go. It's the issue that I have with like watching certain older series where every single comment is, oh, you should have watched this in dub. Like, shut the fuck up. I'm watching it how I want to watch it. I'm watching how it was created and how it was intended, not for me just to, you know, impose my own sort of will or preference and things on it. That's kind of how I'm doing it. The show, it's a little different when you get into watch orders and stuff versus like how the directors of the anime wanted it versus how, you know, it was written. And we're going to talk about that extensively when we get to episode 0, whenever that comes up. I have no clue. I think it's like 24, 5 or 6 or something. I think it's one of those episodes, people were saying, but when we get to that, we'll talk about that a little bit more about like how I would have felt if that was put at a different point versus us just kind of going in order. But I think that, you know, some of this other stuff's a little different. So I probably wouldn't tell anybody if I recommended it to them to skip episodes throughout this, but I would say I probably would warn them that you really could. So if you get a couple in and you feel like I'm getting nothing from this, I don't think you're getting that drastically of a different experience outside of the actual suffering that you put yourself through. And I don't think you're getting that cool of an experience to watch every single one, if I'm being honest. So I actually think that you probably could watch 1, 2, and 8. I wouldn't say just watch 1 and 8. I would say watch 1, 2, and 8. So you can at least get a general idea of what's going on. Maybe even 3, maybe 1, 3, and 8, just so you get a general idea. And maybe even like 5, because I think 5 was my favorite. 4 or 5, whatever one was the really fun music. They were doing some jazzy shit. It was really fun. I'd probably go back and tell them to watch that one instead. I don't know. That's going to be all for me. Thank you once again for joining. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you liked it all, like and subscribe. Then me feel free to check out the channel in the comments. Visitors here. We'll be back for more Haruhi very soon. Hopefully a one-off episode or a brand new arc, and we can put this all behind us. You guys have a fantastic one, though. Peace.